I have followed James Harrison for 7 years, and my role was not only as an assistant but also to accompany him to sleep. Everyone thought that he and I would have a happy ending, but on the day of the proposal, his first love returned from abroad, and she bore a slight resemblance to me. As a result, he gave the ring that was on my hand to her. I got drunk all night, and my best friend brought a male model to comfort me. After a ridiculous night, the male model said, "Hello, sister-in-law, I'm Alex." I never thought that a cliché plot like being a substitute would actually happen to me. The woman resembled me in some ways, but her aura was completely different. She wore a white dress, looking cool and elegant. As she pushed the door open, James instinctively let go of my hand and froze in place. "James, long time no see. Who is she?" She smiled gently, but her gaze revealed a hint of hostility. "Emma, why are you back in the country?" she asked. "She is my assistant, Sarah." James struggled for a moment, but ultimately made a certain decision. I had heard him refer to her. That was when I had just become James's assistant, and I was taking him home after he got drunk. I helped him take off his coat and prepared water for him to wash up. After finally getting him settled, he suddenly stood up, pulled me into his arms, held my neck tightly, and kissed me deeply. He softly called my name, Emma. The music in the private room inexplicably paused, and the people around looked at me with sympathetic eyes. I lowered my head and saw the ring he had just put on my finger. The pink diamond sparkled charmingly under the light. After being James's assistant for 7 years, I was doing the work of 3 people while only receiving 1 salary. This is not self-torture. Even though I thought our relationship wasn't officially confirmed, his proposal gave a perfect conclusion to my long-standing feelings for him. But I was wrong. During the time I was away, Sarah took very good care of you. Emma slowly walked in front of me and extended her hand. I hesitated for a moment but still took her hand. It was the right thing to do. Emma's gaze lingered on the diamond ring on my hand, her tone filled with nostalgia. "James, that pink diamond at last week's auction was actually bought by you. Do you remember what you said when we were in school, that you would give me the most beautiful gem in the world?" James listened to me, gently nudged me, as if he wanted me to let Sarah try on the ring. Then, he grabbed my hand and forcefully took the ring off my fingertip. "Emma, if you like it, then it's yours." His voice seemed to become ethereal in an instant, as if all those marriage vows were just my illusion. "Then I won't be polite." Emma smiled slightly, unhesitatingly put on the ring, and then raised her hand high, waving it in front of James. "Does it look good?" "It looks good." James's voice carried a hint of warmth. They stood together, looking so natural. The gazes around began to change, revealing sympathy for me. I helplessly clutched James's shirt, but he gently brushed me off. "Sarah, go open 2 more bottles of wine." After a few rounds of drinks, James and Emma were nowhere to be found. I made an excuse to go to the restroom and ran into them in the stairwell. "James, didn't you say you only loved me? Why did you find someone else during the years I wasn't around?" The light is dim, and James's expression is hard to discern in the shadows. "Back then, you ran off abroad without a word, and I've already given you the ring, so I consider my promise to you fulfilled." Emma's voice gradually rose, faintly tinged with a sob. "But I'm back now. Do you dare to look me in the eye and say that you made Sarah your assistant not because she resembles me?" The corridor fell silent for a long time until the sensor light turned off. As the light turned on again, Emma pushed James against the wall and kissed him on tiptoe. In the next moment, James turned around and pulled Emma into his arms, making the kiss seem endlessly long, until Emma breathlessly pushed him away, her eyes glistening with tears. "Your heartbeat can't lie, James." "Fire Sarah. I don't want to see a counterfeit presence by your side." James's voice was low and hoarse. "All right." My stomach churned, and the dress and makeup I had carefully chosen for today now seemed ridiculous. I wanted to laugh, but couldn't stop. As my fingertips touched my cheek, they left behind a delicate sheen. At some point, tears had quietly slipped down. "James, are you going back tonight?" "No need. You can have the driver take you back to your own apartment." After completing my duties as an assistant, I put away my phone and turned to leave. The bar was dimly lit. I downed my drink in one gulp and immediately felt dizzy. My best friend Rachel was frantically typing on the other end of the phone, frustrated, saying, "You talk about pure love with others, and they treat you as a backup. I've said it before, you need to change your personality. You always like to take risks. Now look, you've lost everything. right? Yeah, but I only have James in my heart. I heard his name when I first started college. He was the student council president, ranked first in his major for 3 consecutive years, handsome, and from a good family. The aura around him was hard to ignore. The first time I interacted with James was at the opening ceremony. I was speaking as a representative of the freshmen and happened to stand right in front of him. Noticing that I was nervous, he handed me a mint. I heard that candy can relieve tension and help you relax. If all else fails, just imagine the audience as potatoes. At that moment, he made me laugh. I tore open the wrapper, put it in my mouth, and instantly felt a refreshing chill. It's like every moment I spent with James later on had love, but not much. Looking back, it only leaves a cold feeling. The first time my heart raced was when we were trapped in a malfunctioning elevator. In the pitch black of the cabin, when we suddenly dropped rapidly, he unhesitatingly shielded me with his body. Our heartbeats synchronized at that moment. He said, "Don't be afraid." Later, there were too many moments of my heart racing, so when I graduated and James invited me to join Harrison Group, I agreed without hesitation. But at this moment, I feel like a planet relying on the reflected light of a star, drawing emotions that don't originally belong to me from his care for others. All right, stop crying. It's just a man. Wait, I'll find you some handsome ones. Rachel kept babbling on the other end. However, in the next second, a hand hung up my call. The man in front of me looked very young, and he somehow wore a basic trench coat with a model-like aura. I felt increasingly dizzy, and my legs softened, causing me to fall into an embrace that smelled of wood. I vaguely remembered Rachel mentioning finding a man earlier, and I thought to myself that this efficiency was quite impressive. I wiped my tears on his sleeve, tugged at his collar, and looked up at him, saying, "Take me away." The details of what happened next are a bit hazy, but I remember him gently responding, "Okay." I woke up the next day, feeling sore all over. Next to me lay a handsome guy, with thick eyebrows and big eyes, soundly asleep. In the mirror, the fading red marks were covered by new ones, making me blush. This was my first experience with a purely monetary transaction, and I felt a bit shy. I took out all the cash from my bag and placed it as a tip on the handsome guy's chest. At that moment, a message from James popped up on my phone, containing the schedule. I was confused and thought to myself, this person is really crazy. Sorry, James, but I fired you. After sending that message, I immediately blocked him and deleted him. After changing my clothes, I walked out the door. Just when I thought I was downstairs, I received another new message. Alex, he is James's cousin. I had seen him a few times at the Harrisons, and I didn't expect him to contact me suddenly. Before I could react, his next message almost made me fall out of the elevator. Sister-in-law, you can't just deny it after putting on clothes. That's really heartless. The handsome guy in front of me, with deep features, is on a completely different level from that chubby guy before. Brother, come here. Grow strong, eat more. Didn't Sarah know how my health was last night? His remark almost made me spit out the soy milk in my mouth. Ahem, don't call me sister. I have nothing to do with James. Alex seemed to be indifferent after hearing that. He said, a fickle person like my brother is not worthy of you at all. I lowered my head, my nails digging deep into my flesh, still pretending nothing was wrong, secretly wondering if the Harrison family hadn't gone bankrupt yet. Why was this young master still acting like one? Alex held my hand, gently pried my fingers apart, and softly kissed my palm with his tender lips. He smiled and said, "Stay alert, Sarah. Shouldn't you pay more attention to my business?" Just then, my phone rang at the most inappropriate moment. It was just Alex's call. Brother? I felt a tightness in my chest, and my breath paused for a moment. But Alex was unfazed, holding me tight, lightly kissing my earlobe, and then casually turned on the speakerphone. I bit my lip, and a strange sound involuntarily escaped. You're really energetic this morning. Get to the point. It won't be good if my princess gets angry. Emma is back. Let's have a meal together this weekend. Oh. Alex threw his phone onto the bed, pinched my cheek, and asked, "Why is it so red? Are you afraid my brother will find out?" I swatted his hand away and asked, "How did you find me last night?" "It's a part-time job." Who knew the client would happen to be Sarah? Alex interlaced his fingers behind his head, a smile on his face. I don't know why, but I felt a bit irritated. Let's not contact each other anymore. After working hard at Harrison Group for 7 years, I've handled a lot of trivial matters, but James has always only given me the title of assistant. Moreover, I'm 28, unmarried, and without children, so I haven't found a suitable job yet. So, I went to work as a resident singer at a bar opened by a friend, just as a transition. The news of James and Emma's engagement topped the local trending searches, and everyone said it was a well-matched marriage. I don't know who brought it up, but they said that 7 years were missed between them, adding a layer of romantic nostalgia to the wedding. If possible, I would like to invite you to my engagement party next week. Even though you have left, we have been friends for many years after all. I looked at the message from an unfamiliar number, feeling a wave of nausea, my hand trembled accidentally, and my phone almost fell to the ground. A familiar woody fragrance came from behind, and the phone was steadily caught in a bony hand. Be careful, Sarah. Alex straightened up, winked at me, and was holding an electric guitar. A friend mentioned yesterday that the bar had hired a new band, and I didn't expect Alex to be their guitarist. Sarah, what a coincidence. Alex's lips curled up slightly, and his peach blossom eyes were full of laughter. Mr. Harrison's social circle is truly vast. I started adjusting the microphone with a blank expression. Yeah, I heard there are big clients at the bar, and here I run into the heartless Sarah. After that day, I set Alex's contact to do not disturb. What he mentioned about being cautious in peace was just a joke. I don't believe a prominent family like the Harrisons needs him to go into business. I see this as a one-night stand between adults, meeting physical needs without any further involvement afterwards. And because of James, I have no desire to keep in touch with the Harrison family anymore. The performance has started. I gently tapped the microphone, producing a buzzing sound that drowned out Alex's voice. The atmosphere at the venue was great, and the performance was going quite smoothly. However, during the next act, a drunk man stumbled over, his gaze leering at me. Come have a few drinks with me. I frowned, dodged his outstretched hand, and coldly said, have some self-respect. For some reason, my words struck a nerve with the man. His fat fist was raised high, his face full of anger. Women who come to bars are all worthless. However, his fist did not come down, it was instead intercepted by someone. Alex quickly twisted his hand, and the man's arm dislocated with a crack. Coward. He had a smile at the corner of his mouth, his tone full of disdain. You wait. The man pushed through the crowd, still cursing under his breath. Thank you. I nodded at Alex and was about to brush past him when I heard him murmur, work with me? Don't you want to get back at my brother? I was taken aback for a moment, then turned to see him leaning against the wall, arms crossed, raising an eyebrow. To be honest, after being a substitute for 7 years and maintaining an ambiguous relationship, it's hard not to feel angry. Don't rush to reply. Think it over first. He added, by the way, you studied art design, right? Being a live performer isn't a long-term solution. If you don't mind, I have an opportunity for you. Alex and I locked eyes. Why should I trust you? Because we have common interests. The first task after collaborating with Alex is to attend James's engagement party. Relax. This time we're mainly discussing business. There will be many big clients at my brother's engagement party. Alex and I stood in front of the mirror as he helped me fasten the necklace. At first, I thought the Harrison family was wealthy, and even if Alex was a distant relative, he would inherit a good share of the fortune. But he told me that aside from the direct heirs, everyone else in the Harrison family has to fend for themselves, which is why he wanted to take me to James's engagement party to seek business opportunities. At the banquet, the guests are all dressed appropriately. Sarah used to like James so much. Could she come to steal him away? Haha, it really could get to that point. Just as James was about to say something, someone gently linked their arm with his. Emma wore a pure white evening gown, elegant and graceful. Even if she comes, James wouldn't be taken away by someone like that, right? For some reason, despite Emma exuding a familiar fragrance and her figure overlapping countless times with his dreams, James felt a sense of strangeness towards her now. They were once young lovers but missed each other due to various unforeseen circumstances. They should have been happy to reunite, yet he inexplicably thought of Sarah. She always wore her hair up low, her eyes sparkling with bright smiles, focused solely on him. For that casual invitation, she accompanied me for 7 whole years. Therefore, James hopes Sarah doesn't come here because of that text message. This text was sent by Emma when she was being playful, wanting to prove her love for him, but it ended up inviting Sarah here to make a scene. Bro, congratulations on your engagement. James's thoughts returned, and in front of him was his cousin, Alex, whom he didn't like. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, he saw a familiar figure appear at the entrance of the banquet hall. Most of the people surrounding him were friends of him and Emma, who understood the entanglements among the three and looked on with interest. In the next moment, the figure walked straight over and linked arms with Alex. In James's incredulous gaze, Emma affectionately linked her arm with Alex's. She opened her mouth, seemingly not expecting such a scene, her words caught at her lips. James, as a friend for so many years, I wish you a happy engagement. I smiled at them. Sarah, you and Alex, you, James gritted his teeth. His probing gaze swept back and forth between me and Alex. Alex pulled me into his embrace, wearing an innocent smile. Bro, let me introduce you. This is my girlfriend, Sarah. He brought her to witness the ceremony, also to prepare for our future. Emma snorted, saying that Sarah was truly skilled, quickly finding someone to take over. I casually replied that it was much better than Emma, having left for years and still returning to find a sucker. Oh no, a lovesick person waiting. You. I took Sarah to greet them, then said goodbye. Alex timely interrupted, pulling me to turn and leave. Don't let go, Sarah. Acting requires some investment. He lowered his voice, tightly grasping my hand that I wanted to release. Halfway through the ceremony, James and Emma together held champagne, filling the glass tower. I made an excuse to touch up my makeup and got up to go to the restroom. As soon as I came out, I was stopped by James, who slowly walked toward me. Sarah, are you that eager? I stepped back, my mouth full of sarcasm. James, what right do you have to say that to me? He cornered me, his body filled with a faint smell of alcohol. Don't you know I don't like Alex? James, meticulous in thought, didn't tell me what was on his mind, and besides, who I choose to be with is my decision. He suddenly laughed, as if asking, could I really just let go of someone I used to like so much? I pushed him, but he stood still. Since you took that ring away, we have nothing between us. James leaned down to kiss me. I turned my head and bit his shoulder hard. He gasped in pain, then was knocked to the ground by a gust of wind. James! I don't know what grievances they have, but it's clear that Alex's fists are filled with anger. The commotion here quickly drew the attention of the guests. Emma screamed and rushed to James's side, her eyes filled with venom, glaring at me and Alex. Sarah, you can expect to be sued. Alex nonchalantly wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said to Emma, Miss Emma, your fiancé is flirting with my girlfriend, so he deserves to be hit. As soon as those words were spoken, the people around changed their expressions. I played along with Alex, saying, James, being obsessed with old feelings isn't good. Then I carefully touched the injury on Alex's face and asked him if it hurt. I supported Alex as we left the banquet hall. Once in the car, I immediately let go of him and gently punched him. Is everything taken care of? Alex exaggeratedly clutched his stomach. Sarah, I'm the injured one. Are you still not at ease with my work? I've already persuaded several suppliers, and they will cooperate with us. The opportunity Alex mentioned earlier is actually to start a business together with me. He provides the funding, I handle the design, and with the resources of Harrison Group, we can share a piece of Harrison Group's cake in the fashion market. Using the topic around me to attract attention first, open the market, and the subsequent income will be considerable. Today we were just preparing to discuss resources, but I didn't expect James to suddenly appear. I'm quite pleased about it. Since the past harm has already happened, I might as well make good use of it and let my experiences bring me benefits. Alex is indeed a marketing genius. As soon as my design was released, he immediately contacted the media for promotion. I spend every day in the studio modifying designs, completely different from the busy trivial matters at Harrison Group before. Now, I am purely doing it for myself. The continuous busyness made me unknowingly fall asleep on the desk. In the deep autumn season, a fine rain falls outside the window. I don't know when, but a coat still warm from someone else's body was draped over me. I stretched lazily and happened to make eye contact with Alex, who had just returned. The warm yellow light made his expression look particularly gentle as he handed me a cup of hot milk. The product went from development to market in just 1 month, and the results were surprisingly good. Looking at the numbers on the company's books, Alex excitedly spun me around and happily said, Sarah, you are truly my goddess. Alex, I'm a bit dizzy. Please put me down. Aw, I'm feeling a bit dizzy too. We both fell onto the soft carpet together. Alex instinctively shielded my head with his arm, but he didn't notice that his foot hit the corner of the table. Fragments of sunlight streamed in from the window, filling the air with warmth. I nestled in his arms, our faces close enough that I could see the stubble on his face, and I couldn't help but laugh at his goofy grin. Alex, that expression is really ugly. Oh, you dare to laugh at me? He pretended to be angry and started tickling me. Haha, I won't laugh anymore. I was wrong. We rolled around on the carpet, and when I tried to escape, I accidentally touched a forbidden place, instantly turning red. Sarah, I didn't expect you to be so innocent. Alex's voice was hoarse as he gently pinched my cheek. I wanted to say something to refute, but his lips were already sealed. Sarah, I've liked you for a long time. It wasn't until this moment that I gradually understood the meaning of those words. At this moment, all I wanted was to hold him tightly, surrounded by the familiar scent of wood and his warm body heat. Just the night before James's wedding, he came looking for me. Since Alex wasn't around, I had closed the studio door early. On my way downstairs, I was busy replying to messages and didn't notice when I bumped into someone at the corner of the stairs. James was soaked, reeking of alcohol, leaning towards me. I quickly reached out to support him and frowned, asking, James, why are you here? James's eyes were red, his tone heavy. Sarah, I'm getting married. He continued, but I've been dreaming about our days in school, you waiting for me after class, cherry blossoms falling on you, like a beautiful dream. And those years we worked together, you always remembered my dislikes and preferences. Whenever I didn't eat on time, you always prepared congee to nourish my stomach. Every late night, your hair would gently fall on my face, the scent of orange perfume lingering in the air, and the smile in your eyes. I can't believe you would forget those years we shared so quickly. I listened to James rambling on, finding it somewhat amusing. Am I just that obedient dog, coming when called and leaving on command? He just realized Emma lost her charm and came here pretending to be sentimental. James, our feelings have been completely misaligned from the very beginning. When I loved you, you treated me as a substitute, and when I no longer loved you, you realized that the original was not as good as the substitute, so you wanted me to come back. How naive, there's no way I would let you take advantage of me. Now I'm doing well with Alex. How about you? I wish you happiness in your marriage. Let's not disturb each other. I let go of my hand, causing James to fall to the ground. He shouted from behind me, Sarah, do you really think Alex loves you? He's only getting close to you to go against me. I got into the car, and James's voice gradually faded into the sound of the rain, but I didn't expect his words to come true so quickly. Everything that happened tonight has already been recorded by the camera in the corner. Returning to the community, I saw the lights on in my house downstairs, and my heart couldn't help but lift. I carefully opened the door. Inside was not the thief I imagined, but Alex, who should have been out on business, sitting in the room, with a flickering cigarette in his hand and a serious expression. I had never seen him smoke, and I thought about sneaking up to startle him. But just then, Alex's phone suddenly rang, loud, with a stern woman's voice coming through. Alex, stop playing house with that little girlfriend. Since James doesn't like her, you have lost the meaning of getting close to her. Don't forget the purpose of my agreeing to your return to the country. Alex irritably stubbed out his cigarette, and I knew in my heart that it was to reclaim the shares of Harrison Group from James. The woman on the other end continued, I was once entangled by feelings. Who would have thought your father was so unreliable, allowing that vixen and her illegitimate child to take advantage? Don't let your sympathy delay important matters. Alex rubbed his brow in distress. Mom, I know my limits. He had never forgotten that getting close to Sarah was just a means to deal with James. Without waiting for a response, he hung up the phone and threw it aside. I felt the sounds around me becoming distant. As I loosened my grip, everything fell to the ground, meeting his gaze. Alex looked surprised and immediately stood up, wanting to grab me. Sarah, things are not as you've heard. I curled my lips into a sarcastic smile. All the love he pretended to show, every chance encounter was actually a result of deliberate planning. I'm mocking myself for repeatedly falling into the same trap. Isn't what James did enough to wake me up? Why do I keep believing others so easily? I forcefully shook off Alex's hand, rushed to the door, and took the elevator down. I hailed a taxi, isolating him outside, and told the driver, just drive, anywhere is fine. Alex was saying something outside the car window, but my mind automatically blocked it all out. The driver chuckled, teasing, you young people really know how to have fun. It's like a scene from a drama. As the car left the street, my phone kept ringing with calls from Alex, one after another, but I hung up on all of them and finally turned off my phone. For the next few days, Alex continued to send me messages without giving up. Until the last message, Sarah, could you please reply to me? I'm really worried about your safety. I buried my face in the hotel blanket. After a few more days, a strange number called in. "Sarah, can we talk?" The private tea room was filled with a faint sandalwood scent. "Does someone as busy as Miss Catherine really want to chat with me?" I calmly pushed the teacup in front of me aside, my gaze falling on Catherine across from me. "Sarah is smart. I just wanted to do you a favor and help Alex with his urgent problem." Catherine lifted the teapot and poured herself some tea. I lowered my head, absent-mindedly fiddling with the teacup. The necklace designed by Alex and me has recently faced fierce criticism, accused of plagiarism. Coincidentally, Emma is my peer and a well-known designer in the jewelry industry. She posted a design sketch on social media, captioning it by calling me a fickle thief. The sketch is extremely similar to my design, and her post attracted paparazzi, exposing the video of James blocking me downstairs in the rain that day. Her fans followed the clues and uncovered the relationship between the three of us. In an instant, the online backlash against me surged like a tide. Some called me a scheming woman who climbed the ranks through bedroom skills, while others accused me of being a corporate spy, stealing trade secrets from my former employer to please my current boss. Because I resemble Emma, and even Alex deliberately made me imitate her, conspiracy theories about me lurking in the Harrison group began to circulate. Now that Alex and I are no longer together, it has greatly disappointed Miss Catherine. I wanted to leave, but Catherine reached out to stop me. People and their works are the same. You don't want to be forced to be a copy of Emma forever, do you? She wore a confident smile on her face. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Sarah can take a look at this and then decide whether to cooperate with me. Catherine pushed a folder towards me. The plagiarism incident caused a huge uproar, with various bloggers coming forward to call for a boycott of plagiarism, even turning into personal attacks. The Harrison Group issued a lawyer's letter, stating they would pursue this matter and, in the meantime, launch new products based on Emma's designs. On the day of the trial, Alex sat in the defendant's seat with a tired expression. The lawyer from the Harrison Group gave an impassioned speech, seemingly nailing him to the cross of plagiarism. Meanwhile, his lawyer was retreating step by step until I appeared as a witness for the defense. I saw surprise in Alex's eyes. He just nodded slightly. Actually, I should have been the defendant, but during this time, Alex insisted that he was the designer and that all responsibility lay with him. I wasn't sure of his intentions, but I felt a stirring in my heart. As Catherine said, I don't want my hard work to be accused of plagiarism. During my time at Harrison Group, I served as the assistant to the president, and my work was unrelated to product design. Meanwhile, the plaintiff's designer claims that her design was completed 3 years ago. However, my initial sketches were posted on my social media 5 years ago, and the relevant evidence is in the materials I just submitted. Therefore, I request an investigation into the plagiarism by Emma and Harrison Group. As soon as I spoke, the courtroom erupted in an uproar. Emma suddenly stood up from the plaintiff's seat, pointing at me and shouting, "Sarah, you're just talking nonsense." I ignored her because I had an even bigger surprise prepared for her. The judge banged the gavel, ordering everyone to be quiet and stating that due to the importance of the defendant's evidence, the court would adjourn for further discussion. I walked out of the courtroom through the crowd, and Alex hurried over, grabbing my wrist, thanking me and saying, "Sarah, thank you. I'm just restoring the facts." I took a step back to maintain some distance. Everything that happened that day was a misunderstanding, and there's a reason I said that. You don't have to explain this to me. I don't want to know about things that don't concern you. Alex stood there, opening his mouth but unable to make a sound. The media surged in like a tide, holding cameras and microphones, surrounding us. The confrontation between the defendant and the plaintiff was so dramatic that we were forced to keep our distance. The court has not yet given a final verdict, but new messages keep popping up online. Is the 7-year promise a lie? The moral decay is real. President Harrison turns out to be a fishing expert. To help his lover get involved, the real thief turned the tables. These messages are rich in content, detailing both my entanglement with James and revealing the truth about Emma's 7 years abroad. Although Emma maintained a pure image in front of James, during high school, she was the school's prominent figure, having bullied others and engaged in early romance, living quite freely. Just after entering her senior year, she was unaware that she was already pregnant with some bully's child. Emma is an illegitimate child with a poor reputation, and now, while dating the young Master Harrison, being pregnant out of wedlock has drawn even more attention. To avoid unnecessary hostility, her father directly had someone take Emma for an abortion, and then quickly sent her abroad. From then on, she became James's long-lost white moonlight. The main reason for returning home is that her father has been in poor health in recent years, and she wants to come back to divide the inheritance. In addition, James's net worth has been steadily increasing, yet he still remains unmarried. Catherine, don't think I don't know what you're scheming behind my back. Emma's voice was sharp and angry, clearly indicating that the recent public opinion had put her under immense pressure. Catherine did not respond to this, merely instructed her assistant to take away the phone, and with a hint of apology, slightly curled the corners of her lips, seemingly apologizing to me and making Sarah laugh. This time, being able to compete with Emma and the Harrison group behind her is largely thanks to her help. The scandals online were all orchestrated by Catherine. This little sister will never reflect on herself. When faced with problems, she only blames others to gain sympathy. Catherine looked out the window, her voice filled with memories. After my mother passed away, my father brought Emma and her mother home the very next day. On the day Emma arrived home, she actually said that the last dress my mother made for me was an imitation of hers and directly tore the dress to pieces. My terrible old dad is really confused. The rise of our family is largely attributed to my mother. Not long ago, he actually wanted to leave half of his fortune to Emma, which was outrageous, so I had to take action. I poured her a cup of tea and quietly listened as she continued, so Sarah doesn't need to feel too much pressure about this collaboration. After all, I'm doing this just for myself. Catherine finished her tea in one gulp. In any case, I still have to thank Catherine for the ideas and materials she gave me, otherwise, my hard work would have been labeled as a counterfeit. I reached out and shook her hand, and we exchanged a smile. The final court ruling was that Harrison Group's lawsuit against me for infringement was unfounded. Relatively speaking, the design drawings submitted by Emma were determined to have a later completion date than mine and contained too many similar elements. Additionally, Harrison Group had already invested in production and made substantial profits, so I won the lawsuit. As for the malicious comments about me online, I've also collected evidence and am ready to file a lawsuit against them as well. Several young people even cried outside the courthouse, begging for my forgiveness, claiming it was just a moment of impulse, hoping I would let them off the hook since they were still students. I forgave you, but who will take responsibility for the mental anguish I've suffered? I looked down at them, who were weeping profusely, and coldly asked. This scene was captured by those unscrupulous marketing accounts and quickly spread online. Some praised me as the Queen of Revenge, while others criticized me for being narrow-minded, but that's all in the past. After receiving the compensation from Harrison Group, I packed my bags and prepared to live in a small city nestled between mountains and water. However, on the day of my departure, a local delivery service called me. I told him to just leave the takeout in the cabinet, but he insisted that the items were too valuable and needed my signature. I received a beautifully packaged bag, and my phone rang again. I became curious about the contents inside, answered the call with my shoulder while opening the package. Sarah, I'm sorry. James' voice was hoarse and filled with exhaustion. Just as I opened the package and revealed the small box inside, it turned out to be the ring that James had taken from me back then. What are you doing? I was almost amused by his self-righteous apology. I had been lost in beautiful memories of Emma, mistaking that vague affection for true love, only to end up hurting you. Over the years, I always had you handle trivial matters, forgetting your original ideal of becoming a top designer at Harrison Group. He even helped Emma frame you for plagiarism. I'm really sorry. This ring originally belonged to you. It represents my promise to you. If you're willing, I will always wait for you behind. James's voice grew softer, revealing a hint of guilt. In the past, I was easily moved by his wounded look, which led me to forgive him time and again. But one cannot always fall and get back up. Ultimately, one must move forward. James, if I choose to forgive you today, I would have to go sit at the position of the Leshan giant Buddha myself. You're truly laughable, thinking you are the center of the world. How much value does your apology hold, anyway? I let out a cold laugh and hung up the phone. I picked up my suitcase, called a car, and prepared to head downstairs. but an unexpected guest appeared downstairs. "What are you doing here?" I frowned, looking at Alex, who had lost quite a bit of weight. He said, "Sarah, we won the case this time, thank you." He hesitated to come closer to me but ultimately lowered his outstretched hand. To make a long story short, I'm in a hurry. I raised my phone at Alex. "What happened that day is not as you heard. I admit that I approached you with a purpose from the very beginning, but later, during our time together, your kindness, courage, and ability really made me fall in love with you. And you may not remember, but our encounter actually happened before that night." Before Alex could finish speaking, he was interrupted by a sharp female voice. "Sarah, you bitch! If you won't let me be, then just die." Across the street, a taxi suddenly swerved, its engine roaring. Emma in the driver's seat had a crazy smile on her face as she slammed on the gas, the car charging straight towards me. Things happened too quickly. I hadn't reacted yet when Alex pushed me away. However, he couldn't dodge in time and was hit by the car, flying through the air before crashing heavily to the ground. Blood spread rapidly beneath him, bright and glaring. "Alex!" I rushed to his side, heartbroken. "Sarah, I'm sorry." Blood spilled from his mouth, a pale smile on his face. "Don't speak. I'll call an ambulance right away." It is daytime now, and the area where I live is relatively bustling, with kind passers-by offering help. Emma hurriedly reversed the car, muttering to herself, "It's not me, it's you causing the trouble." However, the police reacted even faster, immediately surrounding her. I got on the ambulance with tears streaming down my face. Alex had already lost consciousness, with only a slight rise and fall of his chest. The nurse blocked me outside the operating room. After a long time, the operating light finally went out. Alex was sent to the intensive care unit. He was still in danger and needed to be monitored further. The doctor briefly explained a few things before leaving. I pressed my face against the glass, as if this could help me feel his warmth. Alex's consciousness sank into the abyss. He recalled many past events, such as the happy family he once had. Even though his father was always busy and they could only see him late at night, his father's embrace was incredibly warm, and the three of them would laugh together. On his 5th birthday, his father surprisingly suggested taking them to the amusement park. That day was sunny and warm like spring. My father let me sit on his shoulders and even bought me a beautiful ice cream. But before long, a woman in a glamorous dress appeared, followed by a group of tall bodyguards. She first slapped my father and yelled, "Thomas, you bastard." In the scuffle, I fell off my father's shoulders, my head buzzing and hurting badly. The ice cream I hadn't had the chance to eat was also trampled into a mess. Then, the woman grabbed my mother, tore at her dress, and shouted, "You seductress, enticing other people's husbands. Isn't it promiscuous? Then let everyone see your disgrace." The bodyguards rushed in, surrounding my mother and beating her. I cried and wanted to save her, but a bodyguard grabbed me and threw me out forcefully. From that day on, my father sent my mother and me abroad, even using an uncle's name to take care of me to cover up the scandal. In a foreign land late at night, my mother swallowed a lot of antidepressants and kept urging me to work hard, wanting my father to see my excellence and regret his choice. It was then that Alex realized his father was actually the president of Harrison Group, and his mother was just one of his many lovers. He didn't blame his mother, but during the family upheaval, no one cared about his feelings. To fill the void inside, he began to binge eat, and his weight skyrocketed. 5 years ago, my mother's condition worsened, even developing delusions, believing she was a pitiful woman abandoned by my father, and the family inheritance that should have been mine was taken by the illegitimate child of the mistress. So I decided to quietly return home, hoping my father would show mercy and visit my mother. However, at a glamorous party, I was surrounded by a group of rich kids. "Are you James's shameless little brother? Fat pig, so disgusting." Malicious words and pushing reminded me of my 5th birthday, making me tremble involuntarily inside. At that moment, a slender and beautiful figure stood in front of me. After all, he is a member of the Harrison family. "Please, gentlemen and ladies, don't put me in a difficult position." Alex knew that this girl was James's assistant and seemed to hold a special place in his heart. The group of people surrounding me lost interest and began to disperse noisily. Sarah squatted down and handed me a handkerchief that smelled of warm pine. "If you are being bullied, you must fight back." She walked towards me with a smile, then gently left, yet her presence left an eternal glow in my world. Years later, I heard that James was going to propose to her, but I didn't expect him to back out so quickly. In the dim bar, Sarah was clearly smiling, but her sadness was hard to conceal. Without hesitation, I walked towards her, thinking that even a little warmth would be good. But she said, "Let's go together." After that, many things happened, and she appeared in front of me multiple times. So, when the blinding headlights lit up, I thought to myself that my luck was not abundant. This time, I should be fortunate. As long as I could save the one I love, I would willingly pay any price. "Sarah, wake up!" In the deep ocean, a familiar voice suddenly. Then, the sky brightened. "Alex has been unconscious for a week. The doctor said his condition is stable, but it's uncertain when he will wake up. Although I feel angry about his intentions, I still can't bear to let him fend for himself. Every day I stay by his side in the hospital, talking to him, and I even bought a pot of pine wood to place by his bedside because he seems to have always liked the scent of wooden perfume. One morning, I fell asleep by the bedside. Suddenly, a warm hand gently rested on my back. I woke up and saw Alex's eyes filled with laughter. "Sarah, don't cry. Am I not fine?" he whispered, gently wiping away my tears with his fingers. I turned around, casually wiped my face, and pretended to be stern, saying, "Stop being so narcissistic. I was just afraid you would die, then no one would pay my salary." Alex seemed to understand and called out to me, "Sarah." Then, I felt his warm lips gently touch mine. "I was afraid you wouldn't want to hear my explanation, so I kissed you first." Alex held my hand and began to recount his past. "Don't cry anymore, or you'll turn into a little raccoon." I curled up in his embrace, feeling both sad for his years of suffering and surprised by how long we had known each other. We want to name our first work stellar moments, because the various moments we've experienced together are both dramatic and dazzling, like the brilliant starlight you shed in my dark nights. "I love you, Sarah." In the sunlit hospital room, I tightly hugged Alex's neck and gave him a kiss. "I love you too, Alex." After the police investigation, the reason for Emma's sudden visit for revenge was revealed. It turned out that her boyfriend abroad had come after her, holding her embarrassing photos. For hush money, she chose to sell secrets of the Harrison Group. James is not foolish. He quickly realized the truth of the matter. Additionally, someone anonymously sent him a compilation of Emma's romantic experiences over the years. This led to a complete break between James and Emma. Not only did he annul their engagement, but he also decisively took her to court. Under pressure from multiple sides, Emma pointed the blame at me. She believed that all her misfortunes and James's change in attitude were related to me. That day, she recklessly tried to kill me, thinking that after my death, James would pay attention to her again. I didn't want to fight her, so I chose to let the law decide. In the end, Emma was sentenced to 15 years in prison for attempted murder and infringement of trade secrets. A month later, Alex was discharged from the hospital. We returned to the studio, as the recent turmoil had brought us a lot of traffic. Alex and I discussed taking advantage of the current hot topic to make a significant profit. Life went on quietly like this. James continued to obsessively message me, trying to tell me that I had completely cut ties with Emma, and that as long as I wanted, he would always be there when I looked back. He began to indulge in alcoholism and reckless driving, frequently trending online, even causing fluctuations in Harrison Group's stock prices. The old guys behind Harrison Group couldn't stand it anymore and quietly sought a new successor. In recent years, Alex and I had grown our studio significantly, and its market value shone brightly among emerging enterprises in the industry, naturally attracting the attention of the Harrison family. At that time, Alex had already changed his household registration and completely severed ties with the Harrison family. Perhaps it's due to her age, along with knowing that the former president suffered from illness during his lifetime. Alex's mother has let go of her mindset. When we sought her opinion, she waved her hand and said that the Harrison family's money might not be clean, so it's better not to get involved in this mess. As she spoke, she showed us the sunshine of southern France behind her. Not long after Alex and I got married, the Harrison Group was embroiled in a serious scandal involving serious crimes. The old fellows from the Harrison family pushed James to take the blame, and those who once held great power are now behind bars, leaving everyone feeling regretful. The weather gradually turned cooler, and I became too lazy to commute, so I simply started working from home. Ding dong, the doorbell rang, and I got up to open the door. A bouquet of flowers was shoved into my arms, and when I looked up, I saw Alex's handsome face smiling at me. "Honey, open the door," he said. "Happy half-anniversary." I gently hit Alex with the flowers, unable to help but let him say a few less words. The sunlight outside streamed through the curtains, marking another ordinary yet happy day.